Introducing Marina Abramović is a huge honor, and her visit to Crystal Bridges is very timely as she provides an anchor for the museum's exploration of performance art. We recently launched a public program series, Performance Lab, which explores performance art. Next week, on Thursday, March 30th, Crystal Bridges presents a performance lab by social justice artist Paul Rucker. You can learn more about that series on our website. Marina Abramović's career began in Belgrade during the early 1970s, where she pioneered performance as an art form, creating some of the most important early works in this genre. The body has always been both her subject and medium, exploring her physical and mental limits in works that ritualize the simple actions of everyday life. She has withstood pain, exhaustion, and danger in her quest for emotional and spiritual transformation. From the mid-1970s to 1980s, Abramović and the German artist Uhle performed together dealing with relations of duality. In 1988, the two ended their collaboration in a performance at the Great Wall of China, which received worldwide attention. In the 1990s and 2000s, Marina continued to push the boundaries of performance art as a solo artist. She has presented her work at major institutions around the globe. She has participated in many large-scale international exhibitions, including the Venice Biennale and Documenta. In 2010, she had her first major US retrospective in which she's performed for 716 hours in The Artist is Present at the Museum of Modern Art. In 2014, using herself and the public as medium, Marina performed for 3 months at the Serpentine Gallery in London. The piece was titled after the duration of the work, 512 hours. Additionally, the artist founded the Marina Abramović Institute, a platform that explores, supports, and presents performance art and creates new possibilities for collaboration among thinkers. In 2016, Marina published her autobiography, Walk Through Walls, a memoir. This book is an honest, gripping, and profound look into the heart and mind of a remarkable artist. Marina has generously offered to make signed copies of the book available for order. You can arrange this through our museum store. Sign-up will be available in the South Lobby after the talk. We are truly grateful for the opportunity to spend the evening getting to know Marina and her willingness to share her story with our community. Please join me in welcoming Marina Abramović.
Hello. I knew there was going to be dramatic weather, which really goes well with my dramatic art. So, and thank you for coming in this kind of conditions. First of all, this is my second visit to Crystal Bridge, and I would like to thank to Alice Walton and the Crystal Bridge to invite me. And every time I come here, this is some extraordinary exhibition. This time, I think this was the best thing I saw for a long, long time. This exhibition, The Borders, it's so relevant today. It's such an important exhibition that I was talking to the curators that have to be seen in different countries, have to go to Europe, have to go everywhere, because it's really incredible, the statement of one American artist and one Mexican artist being together and create profound, meaningful work today, which really is answer to our situation in the world. All right, so. Yes. I have 1 hour and 30 minutes for questions, and I have to show you about 70 years of my work. So let's go for it. This statement is I show you 4 artist statements who are really important to me because I identified with these ideas. One is the Bruce Nauman. Is really for me the artist's question of life and death. Only when you do the work, which you give not just 100% of yourself, which is not enough today, you have to give 100 and then 20% more than 100. And that 20% make miracle. And this is really question of life and death. And when you are that fully committed, you can make work in progress in any field you do. If you're a farmer, if you're a teacher, if you're a baker or shoemaker or politician. But that's important, that you take things seriously. The next statement is Piero Manzoni, who was a really important arte povera artist in Italy. And this is a really important statement. The art is not about beauty. It's not that you have to buy the painting to match your carpet in the same color that match your carpet at home. Art have to be disturbing, have to predict the future. art have to be dangerous, art have to be oxygen in our society and so many things. So it's not just about beauty. The next one, Rothko, it's really important. What he, his work really moved me on very, very, very deep level. Every time I see Rothko painting, I can cry, actually. And he talked about tragedy, ecstasy, doom, and so on. And in talking about every artist, we are dealing with very simple, actually, story. We are talking about suffering, we are talking about pain, we are talking about mortality. And in every century of art, this is the themes that we are dealing with in different ways, using different tools. Some people use painting, some make the films, some make the philosophy, the books, some write the poems, and some make performance art, like me. And then this one is Van Gogh. So what would life be if we had no courage to attempt anything? And that's a really important statement. You have to be explorer in life, and you have to be warrior in life. And if you set up your life in a very simple way that you don't make any risk, you will always do the same things over and over again. And you will never move anywhere. You will just be in the same shit like always, or fall in the same love with the same guy, or do whatever. There will never be change. But if you do things you are afraid of, if you do things that you never, you don't know, unknowns, you go to unknown territory, the two ways of happen to you. Or you fail completely because you're being somewhere you've never been, or you succeed to create something new and revolutionary. So that risk is very important. Okay, let me go to my life. My life, I come from a strange family. In my family is everything. This man, it was my uncle, who was the uncle of my brother. Oh, no, it was not my. It was my grand uncle. This was the uncle of my mother, but he was patriarch in Orthodox in ex-Yugoslavia when it was a kingdom, and he refused unification of the Orthodox and Catholic Church. He was poisoned. He died, and he was proclaimed as a saint. So in my family, I have one saint. Then. Then I have a mother and father who absolutely was atheist, never believed in God or anything like that. They've been communists. They've been fighting Hitler in the Second World War, and became both national heroes. So living with my mother and father being national heroes was pretty much hell, because I was absolutely, kind of forced to have the military control about everything. My mother would wake me in the middle of the night if my bread was not straight, because I should not sleep messy. So as a child, it was terrible. And I remember now I go to hotel rooms and I sleep. I just open the carpet, I close. People don't think that I was in the room at all. I'm really well trained. So, wait. So this is my mother. She was in this picture only 23, writing a report on the front as a major of the army. And this is me and my father. And what else? And now I was born after the Second World War in 1946, and there was the first ball in those days, like a communist celebrating now the new life. And in this ball, every kid was dressed as a princess, as a cowboy, as something else. My mother dressed me as a devil. I have no idea why. And I was only 4 years old there. So, just some nice images from my life, smelling the flowers. This, I was very happy there, but doesn't look like. And now, painter. But before that, wait, we're going back. I'm going to really make it dramatic. Okay, so listen to this. I started being an artist, I think, since ever. I didn't do anything else in my life. So I remember so well, my first exhibition, I was 12 years old. And I was, watercolors and stuff like that. But when I was 14, I wanted my mother and father give me the real serious present, which will be oil paintings, because oil paintings means you're a real artist. My father didn't know anything about art. And these days, he had an old soldier who became abstract painter. So I invite him and I say, okay, my daughter wants these oil paintings, can you do something? So we go to shop. And he shop lots of, canvases and boxes of paint and so on. And I had a tiny little room that I call my studio, 14 years old. So he gave me first painting lesson, was so important to me. This lesson really was like the beginning of everything for me. So he first didn't stretch the canvas on the frame. He just cut irregularly, put on the floor. Then he take some can and put some glue on the top. Then he put some red pigment, white pigment, a little bit blue, lots of yellow, and then he put turpentine over all this stuff. Then he take match, throw on this whole thing explode. He looked at me and he say, "This is a sunset," and he left. So, if you know what that means, being 14 and seeing the first painting lesson in your life, it's impressive. So, I wait for a long time till this whole thing kind of dry. And then very carefully, I take 4 nails and I put on the wall. And went with my family to holiday. It was August. And I came back, and as the sun was hitting exactly that sunset, all the glue and this pigment just fall off. And on the floor was only pile of dirt. And that was it. So, looking back, why was such an important lesson? Thinking about E. Klein, who said that my paintings are just ashes of my art. Looking to Jackson Pollock, talking about his diaries, when he's explaining, when he actually do the big dripping on the canvas, he said, they're not abstract painting. I make the figures. I actually make sentences and words. Only when they come to the floor, they become abstract. So the whole thing became important to me, that it was all about process, not about the result. And when I started making performance work, first time in my life, I understood that the process in performance is everything. But we are not the performance yet, wait, because I'm now 14, and then I start painting. So this I'm already here, 15, 16, 17. So what I've been painting, it's my first autoportrait. It looks exactly the same. And first thing what I was interested in to paint was car accidents. I was thinking about, I don't know why, but I also was painting lots of my dreams. But car accidents was like an energy coming together and smashing it. So this was the 2 paintings I show you. And I was always hiding this, but just right now I have a huge retrospective in Europe. And curators absolutely was insisting to show the paintings. I was so ashamed. But now I think it's not too bad. And then after the car accidents, I started painting clouds, and the clouds and the bodies. And the body was like landscapes. And the clouds was a very different kind of clouds. I had the clouds who are coming, clouds who are shadows, clouds who are hitting the bodies, clouds as a projections, and it was all this kind of universe. And now I'm lying on somewhere on the field in the middle of nowhere in a landscape in ex-Yugoslavia. And I'm looking to sky because I wanted to see the, just study the clouds, always studying the clouds. And in one point, out of nowhere, there arrived 12 ultrasonic military planes. And they just make these incredible lines on the sky, like a plane's going to do. And I start drawing these lines on the sky. And I realized that it was incredible looking at this process. You see lines in the sky, and then first is blue sky, and then you see lines in the sky, then you see blue sky again. And then, everything disappeared. So what I done, I went to military base and I asked them, the people there, if they can give me 12 ultrasonic planes to make some drawings. They immediately called my father and say, "Your daughter is completely crazy. You know how much cost 12 military planes to make drawings for her in the sky?" And they throw me out. Then after that, I was so interested in working with the sound, because then I say, okay, this was like a revelation for me. I stood up out of that field and I say, why I should do something two-dimensional? Why I should go and just, paint when I can use everything? But actually you can make, an artist is a miracle worker. He can make work from the dust if he wants. I can do things from anywhere I want. And then I start working with the sound. And this is one of the first pieces I made. Because, we're talking ex-Yugoslavia. We're talking that is not we could travel, but nobody had money to travel anywhere. And I wanted to go. I wanted to see other countries. I wanted to do anything. So this was a cultural center with people sitting, waiting for the, to work for the cinema, to go to the to see exhibition, read, drink coffee, read newspaper. So I put from that space, I create aeroport, but it was virtual. So this aeroport, first, wait, let me show you. Can you put some
Moli se
sound?
putnici koji idu za New York,
First is Slavic.
Bangkok, Honolulu, Tokyo and Hong Kong da se spreme za izlazak na gate 265. Please, all passengers on airline yacht are requested to proceed immediately to the gate 265. The plane is leaving for New York, Bangkok, Honolulu, Tokyo, and Hong Kong.
Anyway, so can you imagine, this was, in that time, we had the 3 gates, but I like this 375 gates, so it's like really make it important. Anyway, so this was the idea of imaginary trip, and everybody sitting in that hall become imaginary passenger of that trip who never actually took place. All right, my need to kind of get free myself from feeling there and in prison of the country and the system, a part of taking this immaterial trip to the different countries, I took just postcards of Belgrade, and I actually removed the buildings. I just paint them out, and I called this entire piece, which was really important conceptual piece, I called them Freeing the Horizon. I just want to free the horizon. And this building, for 30 years later, been bombed by you, Americans, and actually don't exist anymore. And this is amazing. They still don't exist, and which is incredible, because that means that art have really prediction of future. And that's you free everything, and just people holding around, and the horizon is free. Okay, so now I really have to think about time. I'm going to get you through my work very fast to certain things, and that I want to point it. One of my first performances, it's with knives. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You can buy the book, you can look the web, you can understand. But it's really lots of blood. It's playing the knives between the fingers and creating sound, and we just leave the sound playing double sound, which actually, it was, after performance. Then the next piece, what is the next piece? Oh, this is a sound. So that's how it works, the photo work. Wait, maybe I'll show you just the sound. Is this sound? Can we? A little bit higher. It's pretty fast. Okay, just to understand. So it was a big work. All right, so the next one is the star, is a communist star, which I burn. And I, lie inside the star. I cut my hair, I cut my nails, I burn, put everything in the star, I stand inside. And finally I lie down. And nobody ever told me that actually the fire can eat all oxygen, so I lost consciousness there. And I was not, nobody saw it till one doctor, by chance was in the space and see that I didn't react when the little pieces of fire was coming on my skin and took me out. So I was very angry because I understood that body have limits, which I was always thinking it doesn't. So that's the work about that. So all the works was always work that we didn't have even money to have any kind of recording, so it's always photographic work and sound recording. So this is the one performance, probably the most crazy one that I done when I was young. 72 objects, you can do anything you want with me, including killing me, because I had a pistol and 1 bullet on the table. And I proclaim I'm an object and use all the things you want, and I take all responsibility for 6 hours. So this piece now is a collection of Tate Museum, and you can view it there. And the public in the beginning, was very shy and just play with me. They give me roles, but much, as it was 6 hours, they become much more violent. They start cutting my clothes with the scissors. They stop the thorns of the rose into my body. They cut my skin. They drink my blood. They put knives between my legs, and they didn't rape me because it was a normal art public, and they came with their wives, and it was really very hardcore core performance. And after 6 hours, I was really on my end, and the director came and said, 6 hours is over, and you can stop. And I started walking towards the public, and public just ran away. And when I came to the hotel and looked myself in the mirror, I had a big piece of gray hair. So this was the piece that I knew the public, if you give them possibility, they can kill you. And that was a very important message to me, that I will not, that I can take the worst out of the public, but I also can build the spirit of the public and do something which is the best, which I done in MoMA, in the Artist is Present, which I just give opportunity to the public to sit on the chair and look at the eyes. And eyes are the door of the soul. And this performance really became something different. So this was 25 years earlier. But a lesson have to be learned, and I have to go through this all hell in order to get to that point, that actually to learn how to bring the spirit up and not put it down. Okay, so they will move me around the space and so on, and this was the public. This is really 70s public. All right, so how we are doing? All right, so this is, I'm going through fast, there's so much more work, but I'm just showing you some key pieces. All right, so now we are talking end of 70s. We are talking 1975. I go to Amsterdam to do performance for the television in there, which was, I was the only actually from Slavic countries artist doing this at that time. So I was like the first woman on the moon. So I was going there to do this thing. And then I met another artist, Ulay. And this became huge love story and relation work, which we made for 12 years. And this was very important, that statement, that we didn't want to have any mixed living space. We just bought this car from the French police, and this is not like a kind of luxury car. There was like nothing inside. It looked like a sardina can. And now this car is in the part of the museum, and it was in MoMA show, and now it's in Stockholm show. Actually become work. But that car was where we live. We didn't have money, so we would go to the shepherds, meet the sheep. The police was always very curious what we are doing, around. And then there was frozen in Switzerland somewhere that we have to breathe in order to can open the door from inside because it was too cold. And when we met, we had the boss way to carry our hair in 2 chopsticks like this. And we didn't even know how. And then we discovered that we are same day born, and we met each other on our birthday. So this was one of these overly romantic relationship. And it's so funny, in the 70s, every single photograph I have a cigarette. And I didn't think that I was even smoking, but it was so cool to have cigarette at that time, because otherwise, you are really not doing well. So this is our dog, which he lived with us. He was a German. He was an Albanian shepherd. Sometimes he even, in one point, she ate half of the steer wheel. So it was really difficult. And that's not us, And this really looked romantic in that time. But in the same time, I have to say, there was a very happy life for me. And it was the life without any compromise. Because we just make the performance and live in a very simple way in the countryside. We knit all the pullovers, which was horrible, not that looking good. And I was reading macrobiotic book at that time. I see, that's how we slept. And we sit in the rock holes. In the morning we have to actually milk about 120 sheep, and we get in exchange the sausage and pecorino, so we can live. It was good food. And that's our inside of the car. And that's the end, 2 of us. All right, so what kind of work we've been doing? Let's go to the work. It's very important that I'm showing you life and work because it's connected. It was one thing for me, and it's always been. So here what we have, the 2 bodies, male and female, in a space, rushing towards each other and colliding. And the idea was about male and female energy getting together and creating something which we call that self, the third energy. And it was all about male and female. And we really explored this to the maximum. So another piece that I found, wait. I want to, wait. might have to stop just to tell you about this piece. This is one of, for me, very important piece, and doesn't look so spectacular, but piece was about, it's called breathing in and breathing out. We had the 2 little filter tips in our nose and 2 small microphones in our throat. And all what we've been doing is sucking air from each other, actually body, in order to exist, in order to breathe. And we breathe in that way 17 minutes just before actually collapsing. And breathing is everything. You breathe in, you're alive, you breathe out, you're not. So it was all about air. And literally was sucking air from every pore of your body. Okay, listen, all this stuff I'm showing you just a glimpse, because otherwise it will never go through my life. Okay, the next piece which we done, it was piece which called Ah Ah Ah, and it's all about we scream to each other mouths till one of us lose the voice. Okay. All right. The next one is, this was really about sound. It's very interesting if you scream as long as we did, how the sound of your body becomes something else, how the sound becomes the sound of the, you know, the scream for the mother, how they become the scream for the lover, how they become the scream of the you know, unwanted child, how this scream become cry of the bird, and you start producing these sounds that you never heard out of your body, and at one point the sound just stopped. Anyway, so this was this piece, and the second piece was also the piece that we actually for us was musical piece, and we was very much in love in those days, so it was not anything but aggression, and it's called Light Dark. And the piece was that we take our body, our half of the body as a musical instruments, and we slap each other as fast as we can and create that drumming sound. Anyway, after this performance, we was each of us dark blue one side and in love. Okay. Of course, going on, fine. So the next piece, is the next piece? I think oh yeah. The next piece, it's the piece that, you know, it was a really important piece in those days, and it was the really idea that museum will not exist if it's not for artists. First, artists have to create the work, and then you can make the museum to place the work. So in this work, we actually build the door of the museum in Bologna, make it smaller, and we become the door of the museum. And the way you have to go through, you have to make a choice. You one side or another side. And, you know, and then choice has been filmed, and you can see only on the end. And this was an interesting solution, half-half. Okay, so that's the, you know, photographic work about the choice, and the video is this. It's a very gray video from 70s, you know. So the piece is supposed to be 6 hours, and after 3 hours, there came the police, and they all, oh wait, sorry, I don't want, they came the police, and they all actually pass facing me, and then asked for our documents. I mean, we didn't have them. It was like, and then they stopped the piece. Okay, so the piece that for us was very important, we are both Sagittarius, and we made this piece for our birthday. It was called Rest Energy. And this piece was actually the shortest piece we ever made. It's only 4 minutes and 20 seconds, but for us was lifelong. And the piece is very simple, is between us, we are holding bow and arrow, and the sound is the sound of our hearts become faster and faster. Okay. Wait. Yeah. Okay, let's not go into it too much. I'm just giving a glimpse of stuff. I'm like a DJ of performance art. Anyway, so we done lots of this really, the male female works and performances and traveling around the world. And we live also one entire year with the Aborigines Central Australian Desert, which was incredibly breaking through for us. Connecting to different type of spirituality and so on. And this is 12 years, and in these 12 years, things came to the end. And I don't want to go into this emotional, the struggle. You can read the memoirs, all the details, what happened. But actually, we decided 8 years before this ending to walk the Great Wall of China, because we wanted to walk from one end, from the seaside, and Ulai from desert, from Gobi Desert. We each going to walk 2,500 kilometers, and then come together and married and make wonderful new work. But Chinese took 8 years, 8 horrible years to actually say yes. Finally, when Chinese say yes, we was an end of our relationship. But as we never give anything, especially me, if you say no to me, it's just the beginning. So I could not give up this project. So we decided that we're going to walk this Chinese wall from each end. So that's me down there somewhere. And actually come to the middle and say goodbye. And this is the end, and this was the end. And this was the end of a relationship, end of everything. So, I don't have his part of the work, because I only have my side. So as you see, the wall is not just, tourist side of the wall. I was climbing these steep mountains. Most of the time, it was completely ruined and destroyed. This was my living room in the village. It doesn't look that good. I mean, these bed sheets didn't been changed for a while. This is just carton, And that was a very heavy trip. But it was heavy emotionally and physically in both ways. But when we came to the end of our collaboration, I was 40 years old, and this was really very depressing moment for me. It was end of everything. It was end of man I love, but also our work, because we worked together. And so I made the film about that, and it came, this is the Chinese guide and me, the little difference in shoes. And this is, start walking to Gobi Desert where we met. So this is I read this in the book, so I have to tell you the story. I will never forget to him. I was so mad because he actually found a very picturesque space, Ulai, between Taoist and Confucius monastery. And he said, oh my God, this is great to meet, because we can make, we was making film and we was making photographs. And he stopped there for 3 days waiting to me to walk to him. And I was like, what? Because the idea was you meet anywhere. But this was finally the very picturesque moment. So we met there. All right, I cry. Okay, end of this. Now, what we are doing. Now, the Chinese wall is a great serpent. So one of my first performances was, is this beginning? Oh, yeah. It was really working with boa constructors. And the reptiles have this great possibility to always follow a lee line of energy of the earth. So the idea was, if I am the body, and they will follow my lee line. And this serpent was pretty strong, because you can, just by tail, she can move my entire face. She almost killed me, but this is another story. You can read in memoirs. So I just want to show you her movement. And this is very interesting, because she's like a huge beast. And on the end, when she moved away, she shit on me. And smell was unbearable. I think I really was the heart. I'm just going to show you that particular moment because it's rare. Look her head. And now she moves the entire lips and everything. And I was terrified because if she go around the neck, you can't escape. And now I think she's doing it. Wait. There she did it. How much? Okay, let's move from there. So I work later on. I made the 7 different pieces with the 7 different types of snake, and then I make this kind of collage, which actually is a very huge video installation with all the snakes are moving at the same time. And I even have 2 snakes making love on the top of my head. And basically, the whole idea, if you absolutely don't move, they do all the job, and you don't need to do anything. Okay, so now I'm alone, and I start, doing performances by myself. And one of the very important pieces went down. I just show you one image, and because it would take too long to explain everything. It was called Balkan Baroque, and it was the time of the Balkan War in ex-Yugoslavia. And I was invited to present, ex-Yugoslavia on the Yugoslav pavilion. And I proposed the image to wash these bones, because you never can wash guilt of war or blood. And the performance was by Minister of Culture, immediately refused because they say smell horrible and this is not art. And then the main curator of Biennale invited me, and I win the Golden Lion, and the minister had to resign, which was really good. And anyway, so this piece was very important for me because, I was reacting on my own country and the shame of that war, but I wanted to create something which is transcendental, that you can use this image if you're in Syria or you're Uganda or you're in Iran or Iraq or Afghanistan, because the image of the war is everywhere the same. So you create something that actually becomes transcendental. And if you're a political artist only, it's very dangerous because you actually react on one political situation, but this is like old newspaper. Next day is a new situation, and then it just doesn't work. So you have to create work who have many layers, so that every society can take one layer at a time, which is needed. And that kind of work have many lives. So it's really important for an artist to think about this kind of stuff and to always create the layers of the meaning. That was Big Bone. Okay, I'm washing. Anyway, so. Okay, wait. So this piece was also a piece that is important to me. It was the moment of my life when I was traveling. It was like 80s, when I was alone, when I lost the love of my life. And then I made this piece called Onion. And onion is really something to do with the domestic thing. You peel the onion, but also can be onion peeling the layers of your life. So I want you to read this, to listen to this text, which was important to me. Actually, I have to eat 3 onions to make the work. The first onion sound was not good. The second onion, the light was not good. And finally, when I ate the third onion, I hardly could swallow anymore. This was hardcore. Oh, wait. We got back to the onion. Wait a sec. Now I have to just press one, I think. Okay.
I want not to want. I'm tired from changing planes so often. Waiting in the waiting rooms, bus stations, train stations, aeroplanes. I'm tired of waiting for the endless passport controls, fast shopping in shopping malls. I'm so tired of more and more career decisions, museum and gallery openings, endless receptions, standing around with a glass of plain water, pretending that I'm interested in conversations.
Oh, she really edited. There's more text, but never mind. Is important the end of this, when I say I want to get old, so old that nothing matters anymore. And I want to get to the point that I don't want anything anymore. So that was important, and I'm still sticking to this. Not yet, but working on it. Okay, so then I made some really study of portraits. This was really, this piece was related to the icons of Russian icons and also the Slavic, icons, which we believe that actually light comes from inside. And I just cover my face with the honey and the 24-karat gold. And all what I do, I'm looking at you and I'm breathing. And these eyes are flickering. So it's actually big flat screen and become like a painting, but this icon in the same time and living body in the same time. So I call this portrait with the gold leaf. Okay. Then what else I have here? So I done portraits with the waves, that the wave moves you. You're not moving the body, just the ocean moves you. So I like this piece because I made it in Stromboli, which is the beautiful volcanic island, and this part of the beach was volcanic, and I made this piece, and next year I come to visit the piece, and volcano the beach, volcanic beach just disappeared. It was just went under the sea. So it's only that reminds this memory of that moment. Then I was really interested in dying, because I think it's very important that you take idea that we are all mortal, and that we face this, and that we put the idea that you're going to die one day into everyday life. And when you understand that and you take us in everyday life, then you make much more meaningful life, because you cut bullshits. You would know that we don't have that much time. So you really concentrate on important things. So I done these 3 pieces, which actually triptych of carrying my own skeleton. And I build the skeleton on my own body, and I use this to actually face this mortality. So that could be one piece. And the another one is actually, as I build this, is this moving? No. Wait. What I do, I am breathing, and my own skeleton, which is built on my own body proportion, is breathing with me. And then I really can in contact with that, decay and mortality. And in our Western culture, we are so remote of this. We just think that we live forever. And when you go to Eastern countries and you go to India, to go to the other, cultures, you understand that this is part of everyday life. And we have to actually face that, because then really you completely think about your own time in very different way. Especially when you're young, you think you have all time in the world. And guess what? Not. We don't. And then, same reflection of that, thinking about paintings. But, I made this image with a candle in the front of eye, next to the eye. And also the one that actually I put my finger on the burning candle. And here is this I made in Brazil. And it's very important, the idea of the burning candle on your hand, that you really understand that the soul and your willpower is stronger than anything else. And the body is just body. Okay, so then is some other works. Oh my God, we have to go. Anyway, this is Levitation, dedicated to Santa Teresa d'Avila. I don't want to show you. And this is really a small little piece that I like. I stand 6 hours with a tiny little pot with the milk, full milk. And all I do is holding this milk. And sometimes the little drops of milk fall down. And it's just like a painting. Like I always said, feeling that could be, anything, like a Vermeer, but in life. That's all. Little milk holding tiny little milk, very fragile, and also durational work. And very interesting durational work when things takes time because you really go through the process. Okay, wow, you're doing so well. Okay, so now when I was walking the Chinese wall, I was so interested in crystals and the energy of the ground. And after that, I didn't want to stay in China because China was for me a very painful experience. So I went to Brazil. I went to the mines, which I sit and I lie in the different mines and I work with the miners. I was the only woman there, as you see. And then this is my house in the mines, very simple. And actually, what I done, I work with crystals. I want the crystals tells me the ideas. The material have to talk to me, and the material did talk to me. This is a very simple piece that I cover myself with crystals, and I'm just breathing through this. And I call this dosing consciousness, because the crystals and minerals are the simplified computers of the planet, and all energy is inside. And we can just tune to that and actually understand. And scientists are doing this more and more these days. So I made lots of work with these crystals, really trying to transport my experience to the public. So this will be public installation in Japan, which actually you have this long wall and with rose quartz and the 3 pillows. And this instruction: face the wall and press your head, heart, and stomach against this quartz and just stay at the time. And this was made in the shopping mall. So the people will, go there and just create that kind of a meditation state in the middle of the shopping mall. And then we have I also made the pieces for standing, sitting, and lying, but for the public. So this was sitting piece. So there was a very revolutionary moment that actually the artist is free in the space and the public is the wall and become the work. So just exchange the function. This will be standing piece. This was the director of the museum. It just was become the work. A lying piece, like this. And then geodes, who are full of amethyst. I will call them inner sky because they're deep in the ground of the planet. So I will ask proposition: stand under the inner sky, eyes closed, motionless, depart. And then you just been there. So all the public in different museums will participate in this experience. I mean, the people will bring the children, they will just be under this geode. Or you have to clean the crystals, but how you can clean them normally? So I create the crystal broom and crystal brush for non-human use, because they're not humans. So I like domestic project. And of course I made the shoes, and the shoes are for mental departure, because you actually stand there and make mental departure without moving, because they're 70 kilo each. They're made from pure amethyst. And then I made the chairs for human use and chair for spirit. So if you make something visible for something invisible, then invisible become visible. So little spirit, if you don't see, is your problem. But she's seeing it because she put her hand there on the little spirit. And always headphones, because headphones are really important. Block the sound and really create this kind of space that you concentrate on your inner space, in yourself, without interruption. When I work in different places doing the big the community events, I will ask people to put headphones without, to block the sound. And I remember the kid had headphones the first time. He was like 15. And he said, but doesn't work. I say, yes, because this was silence. And he was so excited because he never heard the silence. If you put headphones, there's always some music coming out. So he bring all the friends to understand the silence. It was really very important to me. And of course, in all this participation with community events, you have to put in the locker your telephone, your computer, your watch, and so on, all these complications. So then she can really go into her own world. And then, I make them also for outdoor, that you can, sit in nature and meditate. And you can also have a conversation with the crystals and the people. So just short. I didn't show you Artist is Present. I didn't show you hundreds of my work. I didn't show you Institute because we don't have time. We only have time, 7 minutes, to show you the film. Oh, this is another one, Chair for Man and His Spirit, which I made in Mindscape Museum in Japan. This museum was built for the questions that the human mind can't actually grasp. Dark matter, the origin of life, and so on. And I create through the entire museum copper chair for the spirit, which goes through the whole museum, and the little chair. So the little chair, the human sit and look at spirit. Spirit is always higher than anything else. It's a kind of poetical idea. And
My relation to Brazil started so long ago.
Can we put the sound? Yeah, it's fine.
I went to the mines just looking for idea. I actually want minerals to tell me what to do. When I asked miners if I could just sit on the chair deep in the mines or lie in the bed and let me alone there for a long period of time until I wait for an idea, they think I was completely crazy. When I told them that I got an idea to make shoes out of amethyst, huge minerals weighing 70 kilo, they could not believe. How can walk in these shoes? They asked. I was telling them, but these shoes are not for walking. These shoes are for mental departure. I don't think we need art in nature. Nature is so perfect already, without us. We need art in the cities. We need art in the cities which human beings don't have any time. In the cities they are polluted. In the cities they have too much noise. We have to take experience from nature and transmit it into the cities. I always believe that the function of art is a function of bridge. To bridge different people from different social backgrounds. Different religious beliefs. Different races. But it's also about communication between physical world and the spiritual world. Or just simply between two human beings. I think this trip was very important to me. Not just to get new ideas, but also to open my mind into something different. After I come back, somehow the puzzle came together in a very clear and bright image. I understood that I have to give tools to the public to experience their own self. I have to just blend in. I have to be like a conductor. Because I'm always performing in the front of the public. I'm engaging with the public. The public is my mirror. And I'm the mirror of the public too. Everybody have trauma. Everybody have loneliness. Everybody have fear of death. Everybody have pain. I'm giving part of myself, and they give me part of themselves. The only way they can understand in much profound level what performance is they make their own personal journey. I am removing myself completely from the public. Public is the work. In the front of me is a cave, and I'm going to explore.
Light, please. So this is the beginning of my new journey, which I really turn to community. And that because the art is not just for the very fortunate ones, and it's not elitary. Art is for everybody, and have to be democratic, and have to be available to every single human being. So this is very important to me. And I use performance as a tool because other artists use the other tools. But performance is so unique and so special because it's really about, performance is time-based art. You have to be there to experience, and also you have to feel the energy. And it's immaterial form of art. This is so why it's so difficult to actually grasp and to present in the museums, because the materiality is also such a quality of the performance. So you have to feel. You have to be moved emotionally. And performance, when it's good, is transformative experience. What is not good, you just go home and you didn't get anything. But when it's good, it can transform your life. So now let's list 3 questions, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so you can, okay.
Yes.
It's really interesting that that's what the note you left us on, because I feel like your work is very isolating. I'm really curious what communities you feel you're a part of. What I think is so inspiring about your work is that performance art requires an audience. It captivates, and I think it influences me to do what I do. But
what's the question?
I'm in the business of creating communities.
What is the question?
I'm curious how you create community.
How I create the work? A community.
How would you cultivate a community?
That's, first of all, you have to create trust that what you're doing is real, that what you're doing is from your pure heart, and that you're not fake. And this is what I work since last 40, close to 50 years now of my work. So this is very important. And then in the beginning is your own work you're performing, because it's very gradual how become community. In the beginning of my work, I had a 10% of audience. 20 was huge crowd. 30 was like, oh my God, how we can do it. Because performance was nobody territory. That was not, accepted to museums. It was not accepted as any form of art. Much earlier was accepted video and photography, but performance never as a mainstream art. So I spent my entire life to performance to become actually mainstream art. I introduced also the re-performance as a possibility to re-perform historical pieces. And then also to introduce something which I call long durational work. Because in long durational work, you can't lie. You can pretend, you can even act in 20 minutes or 1 hour performance, even 3 hours. But when you do something 3 months, when you do something, that long, everything fall down, because life and performance become one. And community was formed for me, I start actually understanding how I have to change the dynamic of performance. In the beginning, you're on the stage and you're performing, public is sitting. So I changed after 80s, because I understood that the public have to have complete freedom. Public is not sitting on the chair. I remove the chairs. So the first thing they do, they come, they look at you. If they want to be there 1 second, they're 1 second there. But if you want to be 3 hours, they're 3 hours there. So you give them freedom. That's first. Second thing that what I done in MoMA is that I create the situation of one chair and another chair in the front of me, so the public was also free. They have complete freedom to come there and sit as long as they want, or they don't sit at all. And that was the idea, not that you create a public relation one-to-one and the group in the same time. Then after that, I went to Serpentine, and I say to the directors of the museum, you know what, I'm having this show in the museum, and I don't going to show you anything. I'm going to take the public by the hand, and I bring them to the white wall. And we together walk the white wall, and we just look white wall. This was crazy. I mean, who will say that, how much risk I take in this kind of situation? And actually worked. Because, this kind of experiment to create community 20 years ago was not possible. But now, we need it more than ever. We are so lost. We are so lost with technology. We are so lost with not having time, with the stupid gadgets that we have, because technology was invented that human being has time. But what we done with our mobile phones and everything else is that we are addicted. And this addiction took all our time away. And we got completely lost the spiritual center. So in a way, the artist is the one who have to see that, and who kind of give you a new way on this whole thing. I'm really interested right now, I'm interested in avatars, I'm interested in virtual technology, but I'm interested to kind of create something that actually give you back that your time in a different way. And the community responds to this in very large. I just made the performance for 8,000 people in Stockholm, and we made in my institute made in Athens for 52,000 people. So the community is just got there, and they are. One thing which is important to me, that my community right now is extremely young audience. Like with here, you're young here. I mean, this huge young audience, I'm so happy because it works. And then young audience bring the parents, and that's how they actually become more and more. But that's happening. So next time, whatever I do, come and see what happened. Okay, next question, sorry.
Over there in the center?
Hi, Marina, thank you.
Where are you?
I'm over here in the center.
Oh, center, okay. Center.
Over here. At the earlier Art Infusion event, someone asked you a question about your artistic influences or the people that you admire, and you deflected that towards saying that you're more inspired by natural phenomena, by volcanoes, I think you mentioned, and crystals, etc. So would you briefly describe 7 easy pieces and why you did that and why that was meaningful to you?
You mean the early pieces which deal really with body limits, the blood?
The 7 easy pieces that you did.
7 easy pieces.
7 easy pieces.
Okay, I have to explain to public what is 7 easy pieces.
Exactly.
Because I could not show all these materials in so much. Okay, so because I'm one of the few artists in my age, actually I don't even know who's in my age, they all have pacemaker or they're dead, to still perform, but I really perform. So then I was so fed up, what is happening with performance art, because it was nobody territory. So the fashion, the MTV, the theater, the movies, the design industry, the magazines, they would just look through the magazines of 70s, take the images. I have an entire lecture of how they copy performance and how they don't give any credits. Even young artists will copy the old pieces, and the young curators who doesn't have sense of history will say, oh my God, they invent this and that. And it's been done already, and people done already, and done without being paid, and they live in total poverty. And then now, like Steven Meisel, which is a great photographer of fashion, he will just, literally they call him Xerox, because you just take the images of fashion from the 70s and put fashion models in the first and great clothes and just actually imitate this whole thing. And this is unacceptable. So I was so fed up with this that I wanted to create this called 7 Easy Pieces. I took the pieces from the past, from the 70s, that I didn't see personally. I wanted to very much to reperform Transfix, Chris Burden piece, which he crucified himself in Volkswagen, but he didn't give me permission, and I respect, and I didn't do it. But I made the Joseph Beuys, I made the Bruce Nauman, I made the Vito Conci, I made Gina Pane, Valley Export, so on, and some of my pieces. And I reperformed them, and I reperformed them by study material, asking the permission from the living artist or from the institution who present the artist, pay for the permission, and then make my own version. So if you can take Bach, and you can create techno Bach, and you still have to pay for the original, using of the source material. So they've done exactly the same, and to show the people that actually it's better to reperform the piece than look in this material very gray and sometimes they don't even exist in any kind of video recording in the magazines. So you kind of renew this thing, same like you're doing the choreography of the theater or dance. And I done that, and it was very important for me, this doing 7 Easy Pieces, because it was like showing the people that the performance is a living form of art, and have to stay that way. This was the question? I don't know. What was the question? No, I got lost completely. But anyway, more or less. Okay, yeah.
Question over here.
What did Ule say to you? What did you guys say to each other when he came to see you at your performance? And
Sorry. Can you ask again? I didn't.
When Ule came to see you at your performance, what did you guys say to each other? And have you guys connected since then?
Why we did the performance together? Wait.
No, when you guys, after the Great Wall of China, when
we
you
split.
sat
Yeah.
across from you, it looked like you guys said
that
something
one.
to each other?
Yes. Or anyway, so the story is kind of so dramatic. Anyway, so to tell you the truth, my dear, when we split on the Chinese Wall, he made the Chinese translator. It was not great for me. So and then we didn't talk for 7 years after that. And then we kind of get together and we start, having a normal relationship. So when I had a show in MoMA, I invite him as my guest of honor to come. But I have no idea that he will actually sit there in front of me. I invite him with his, the future wife. He was there. And then he sit in front of me, and this was very emotional because, for me, it was not just any visitor who is sitting. It was somebody who spent 12 years of my life, and not just very, very tough years of my life. And doing all these performances was really strong, as you saw it. So emotion was like eruption of emotions for both of us. Anyway, it's a long story. But, it's dramatic. Love stories are dramatic. Sometimes really, you have to have courage to love and to hate and to forgive. And if you just cut your emotions, you never can live that kind of emotions so strong. So I'm for the living it all. Yes.
One last question. How about over there in the back, right by you, Brady?
Yes.
Hi. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. My question, I guess, then is, if there was one question that you often wish that people would ask you, what would that question be? And if you don't mind, would you answer it?
What would be the question? I think to tell the joke. Okay. It's so funny. My work is so serious to me, and I give everything. But my life I'm hilarious in real life. And now I just got 70, and I say, I really want to be hilarious even more. Anyway, the only joke, I have to tell you, the only joke I know about performance, because there's not many jokes of performance, I don't know, they're so tragic. So the only joke I know is, how many performance artists you need to fix Light Bulb? The answer is, I don't know. I was there only 6 hours. So, there were some more questions up there, I think. Oh, you want to finish? Come on, we have to look. The 2 kids there, 3
Okay,
kids,
I'm gonna run. I'll run to this side real quick.
4 kids. No.
Okay, here we go. Here's a kid.
Hi. I asked you this earlier, but I wanted to ask it again here. So how do you find peace in the middle of your performances, or at least lean into some sort of truth, the courage that you can kind of fulfill a performance in the middle of all of everything that entails?
What is your profession? Are you a writer?
I work here, actually.
I want to know. No, it's a wonderful question. You know, it's so important. Performance for me, it's really how to, create some kind of spiritual, balance in yourself, and how you can create balance with energies, and how you can create dialogue with the public, because it's really, performance don't exist without public. Public and performer create unity, and then things happen. And if it's not this unity, nothing happens. So it's very important how you can actually bring the entire public into time present. Because, you can I can perform in front of you, but I can be in my mind, I don't know, in Honolulu. So the public feel this immediately, because you are there and you're not there in the same time. But you have to really be in the present, right here and now, because past already happened, future didn't. The present is the only reality we have. So we have to create energy dialogue with the public to bring the public and yourself into that present moment. And then in the presence, time don't exist. And then something really happened on emotional level. But that's so much work. I went through so many exercises in my life, so many retreats, so many, the wise, the cultures that learn me. Because, our culture is really, we don't know anything about body and mind much. And there are some cultures who really know. I mean, if you just think of a wonderful Tummo exercise with the Tibetan culture, which has spent more than 25 years learning things, Tummo exercise is exercise that monks doing on a minus 25 degrees Celsius. I don't know how much is that. It's below freezing. Naked, they sit in the snow, and the students will bring them the towels and put them on their shoulders, and the winner is one who dry more towels. So the Tummo exercise is that you can visualize in your body above solar plexus, the fireplace, that you can raise by willpower the temperature in your body that so much that you don't feel the cold, and you can actually dry the wet towels in the snow. I mean, this is exercise that actually they know to do. We don't use telepathy, we use mobiles, but telepathy takes 4 years to learn, and it's cheaper. So this is the thing I'm interested in. I'm interested in that kind of culture where I can learn things. I always feel I am bridge. I go to East to get, and I come to the West to give. That's my function, basically. Thank you. So she wants to